Hello everyone, Chris here. So this is just going to be a tutorial on using the SSH file system. So if you look on my screen, you will see section 8 of the ESC19E handbook. And really, this is just another alternative in remote access methods. So the first one in section 7, that talks about SSH file transfer protocol. That basically just lets you, over SSH transfer different files back and forth between, let's say, your personal machine and the ECF account that you have. And, that's great because, you might be able to write some code or generate some files on your machine, and then using like WinSCP if you're on Windows, or other methods if you're on other operating systems. You can just transfer files and folders, and that'll basically let you just easily submit your assignments. But you know if you're interested in a more direct way of actually you know having access to your files just using your personal machine, there's SSHFS. So what this method does, basically, imagine, you had like a file explorer, like this, and imagine, I mean, well, you can see that all of these folders that I have here are, the folders on my personal machine. But imagine if you could have another folder that directly links you to your ECF account. So you can imagine the implications of that. You'd be able to use your own editor, for example, if you have your favorite editor, such as, let's say, like Visual Studio Code, or like Atom, or PyCharm, or whatever you know whatever you like to use. Uh, this SSHFS method will let you use whatever software you have while also being able to access the files directly on your ECF machine. And of course, the only catch with that is that you're going to have to have a reliable internet connection. So all the instructions are detailed in section 8. I'm going to go over, the instructions for Windows because, most people who, you know, might have some difficulties with accessing, a Linux machine like the ECF account will probably be on Windows. There's also the Mac option that, you know, I don't have a Mac, but I can assure you that if you were to follow this link here and, follow all the instructions that are listed here on the Mac App Store, you should be able to get this working without any issues. So let me just show the Windows solution for now. Basically, you just go to this link, SFTP drive. I think I have it over here. You can just click free download. Um, just follow the installation instructions accordingly, and then after you're done that, you should have this software over here. So this is what it's going to look like. And what you're going to want to do first is actually create, a new drive that you're going to basically mount onto your personal machine. And that's going to be our ECF account. So, we can call it, ECF, as is suggested in the screenshot here. The remote host is just going to be, it could be like ecf.utoronto.ca. It could also be remote.ecf.utoronto.ca, doesn't really matter. And then you would put in your username. So let me just put in mine, username. You can put in a password, and then you're probably going to want to set your folder to the user's home folder. So that's just going to be your twiddle directory. Um, if you set it to server root, I think it'll set it to the root directory of the ECF account or the ECF machine, which is something you probably don't really want to have access to at the very beginning. And that's pretty much it. So basically you put in your username, whatever your ECF password is. The remote host will be either remote.ecf or ECF. You can call it whatever you want. Just make sure it's sensible and you can remember what it is. And then you just click OK. It's going to ask, do you want to connect to the drive now? Click yes. Wait for a little bit. And then voila. This folder over here holds everything in my ECF account. And if you enter your credentials correctly, it'll have whatever's in yours. So you can see that it basically generated another, folder right next to all of the folders in my personal machine. Okay, so we have ECF. I'm gonna go into, let's say, my desktop. ESC 190, and let's go into lectures. Let's go into week 11. The lectures that we just went over in programming in C. Okay, so let's look at what we did in lecture. So now I'm using my favorite editor, and this is on my personal machine, so that's great. I can open some of the files that I wanted to do, and you will see that in my path for like Visual Studio Code. It's referencing the Z drive, which is the drive I just mounted by clicking that start button up here. Okay, so you can open basically the demo that I did for you guys during the lecture. So I had graph funcs. I did. Let's see, what else was there? Also graph funcs.c. Okay, so this is everything that we typed out. And if you actually want to run this stuff and access the ECF account, I would recommend just going into your command prompt or a terminal. As long as you can just SSH, like so. Okay. Lectures. So remember, all the stuff that you're seeing here is just the exact same thing as what you see on my file directory. So all of the stuff is indeed all of this stuff over here. So I can go into it. Week 11 has all the same files, and I can just for the heck of it, let's just run it. So what was it? GCC-O graph underscore main graph underscore, oh, it's the lecture version. C graph underscore funcs.c, and I can add, the -G option is my favorite flag to use if I want to make sure I'm running things Valgrind clean. Run it. Valgrind --leak check equals full, and I'm going to run the executable that I just made, graphmain-lec, and yeah, lo and behold, this is what it would output. The code that I did in front of you guys. Yeah, so I guess getting into a bit of the lecture material. If you remember the representation that I showed you in the last lecture video, these were the vertices that I made, vertices 0 to 8. because num vertices was 9, right? So I had 9 vertices. And here I just added a few edges, right? So vertex 0 has, it's connected to 2, so that corresponds to these guys here. And it's also, vertex 1 is connected to 4 and 0, so that corresponds to these two over here. But anyway, that's not really the focus of, of this video. But yeah, you can see that basically on my personal machine, I am able to access the ECF account, as long as I have a command prompt or a terminal, and I'm able to run an SSH. I have access to all my files. Obviously, for any of your labs, like Lab 4 or Lab 5, you'd be able to run, you know, anything that you want. And as long as it's working here, since I'm on the ECF, it'll be assured that it will pass our tests if it works here, because that's where we're going to test on as well. And at the same time, I'm able to just easily develop on my favorite editor. Okay? So that's pretty much all I wanted to show you guys. And oh, yes, actually, another thing that might be relevant. So remember how you could use SFTP in, this tutorial or this section 7, SFTP? Well, I can basically bypass all of that since this is just directly on my file explorer. So if I want to copy over a few files, from here, say I want to copy, the code that I gave you guys, graph.zip, and I want to copy it over to my personal machine, let's say to my desktop. I can just copy and paste like such, and there you have it. I basically did an SFTP just using SSHFS. And of course, if I wanted, I can also copy paste things from my personal machine to my ECF account. So I can go in here, I can copy paste something in here for my personal machine, as well. Okay, and I think that is pretty much it. Thank you.